This week, President Trump welcomes Chinese President Xi for a visit to his private Florida club, Mar-a-Lago. Awkward, perhaps, to suggest a round of golf with a man whose country you've just accused of raping America. So what might be on the agenda? Well, Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross joins me now from New York. Secretary Ross, thanks so much for joining us.
It's good to be on, Jake.
So the president of China will visit President Trump on Thursday and Friday. Between 1999 and 2011, Chinese competition was responsible for the loss of 2.4 million jobs in the United States, according to a recent economic study. Now, during the campaign, as you know, President Trump promised he would get tough on China. Specifically, he made this promise. Take a listen.
I'm going to instruct my Treasury Secretary to label China a currency manipulator, which should have been done years ago. Any country that devalues their currency in order to take unfair advantage of the United States, which is many countries, will be met with sharply.
So President Trump said this would happen on day one. I think we're on day 73. Is this promise gone? Has it been abandoned?
Well, currency manipulation determination is the province of the Secretary of the Treasury,
right,
not the province of the Secretary of Commerce.
But it's your general issue, though.
My issue is not general. My issue is quite specific, which is trade enforcement and helping negotiate trade deals that make sense for the American worker.
All right. Well, let's talk about the executive orders that President Trump delivered on Friday. One of them, they had to deal with the trade deficit in China. One of the issues that you pointed to that day was the promise of Chinese steel dumping. Let me ask you a question. Was it a mistake for President Trump, when he was a developer, to use dumped Chinese steel and aluminum for Trump construction projects in Las Vegas and Chicago? Did developers bear no responsibility for the issue of steel and aluminum dumping?
Well, first of all, developers don't actually buy the steel. They hire contractors. The contractors put the project out to bid, and the contractors are trying to get the lowest price. The problem with the whole dumping thing isn't on the buying side. The problem is that other nations are dumping product at unfairly low prices. That's what needs to be corrected, not the behavior of the contractor.
You served as the vice chairman of the Bank of Cyprus. A lot of Russians did a lot of business with that bank, as you know. Earlier this month, 6 senators sent you a letter posing a series of questions. They say they haven't received answers from you. I want to ask you a couple of them. One of them says, quote, during your time at the Bank of Cyprus, was the bank involved with any individuals or entities placed under U.S. financial sanctions? Was it?
That's a question that's very complicated to answer, because the bank had billions of dollars of loans that were made long before it got into trouble, long before I got involved with it. So researching all the names that it might have had as borrowers or depositors historically is not something productive. I can tell you, no loan that I approved knowingly was to a person on sanction.
But there might have been individuals who were part of the bank from before you were involved, or while you were involved, but loans that you didn't sign off on, who might have been infected by U.S. financial sanctions. Am I hearing that correctly?
No, that's not what I said. What I said is that all large loans were approved by the committee of the board that I was on. None of those loans went to anybody with sanctions that I'm aware of, and nor were there any great big deposits from sanctioned parties that came in while I was involved and that I was aware of.
Okay, so there might have been smaller loans. Another question the senators had for you was, did the bank provide any loans to the Trump campaign, either directly or through another financial institution?
Certainly not to my knowledge.
Let me ask you a question. As Secretary of Commerce, you oversee NOAA. That's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. It's a government agency that compiles data about the impact of climate change, among many other missions. Is NOAA going to continue to collect this information under your watch? The reason I'm asking is, of course, because back in 2012, President Trump characterized climate change as a hoax created by and for the Chinese in order to make U.S. manufacturing non-competitive, an assertion made in contrast with the vast majority of climate scientists.
NOAA has many missions, and my attitude is the science should dictate the results. As long as they stick to science and to facts, I'm comfortable with whatever is the outcome.
There's something that happened at the White House on Friday, and you were present for it, and it was really curious. Let me just show it. The president was supposed to sign these executive orders on trade. Take a listen.
Thank you, everybody. You're going to see some very, very strong results very, very quickly. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, today with your tweet, were you trying to tell the Justice Department to grant immunity to Michael Flynn? Were you trying to do that, Mr. President? Was that your intention, Mr. President, sir?
Thank you, President.
Mr. President, was that your intention, Mr. President? Was that your intention, sir?
This is a very curious moment. You see Vice President Pence at the end there go over there and try to tell him he forgot to sign the executive orders. President Trump says, you know, bring them into the other room, I'll sign them there. Is there anyone in the president's inner circle who's willing to tell him when he's making a mistake?
Well, as to the signing of the orders, he did sign the orders. I was there with him in the anteroom when he signed them, and in fact, he gave me the pen that he used to sign the order most directly relevant to the Department of Commerce. So I don't see where the term mistake comes from.
Well, it was supposed to be signed. He was supposed to sign them before the cameras. It was a ceremony, and he ended up walking out before he signed them, which I'm sure was just an honest mistake, or maybe he didn't want to answer Major Garrett's question about immunity and Michael Flynn. But in any case, it just all looked rather odd, and it also just raises the question, is there anybody who can tell the president when he's wrong?
Well, I don't see what he did that's wrong. It's his decision where he wants to sign an order. He did sign the order. It's official. That's the relevant fact. Whether it pleased some particular cameraman or not is of no concern.
All right, Secretary Wilbur Ross, appreciate your time this morning, sir. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jake.